Hey guys, Carlos Cortez here with another episode of Scriptures and Wallstreet. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and like and subscribe on Rumble, Scriptures and Wallstreet. We welcome all of our new listeners from all the platforms. We're on Patriot TV, we're on Lindell TV, we are on Stu Peters Network and other networks to come. So the reason why we're getting added is because we shoot the straight truth. We are not bought out. I fund everything here with my own money. So guess what? No one's not going to change my message. You guys know that private equity came in and started throwing millions of dollars at me, and they told me, "Hey, we want to take over your show. Here's obviously X millions of dollars." And I said, "Go pound sand," because my integrity is never for sale. Now I could say this wholeheartedly about our next guest that we have here, a dear friend of mine and the dawn of all peptides. And we're going to be bringing him here shortly. But let me say my disclosure here. Everything on this podcast is meant for information and education purposes only. Because of our special guests, we are not giving medical advice. Also, if you would like any information about what is being spoken today, there will be links. There will be a segue so that you have the opportunity to basically get in contact or purchase any type of items that you are interested in. And more importantly, if you would like a consultation with me or my staff, then all you have to do is go to visit cortezwm.com. You can download our free guide at americafirstretirementplan.com. And you see that book above my head. If you book an appointment with us, I will be sending that to you. I'll personally sign it. No gimmicks, no questions asked. It's a great read. I wrote it for you so that you can be woken up to a lot of the frustrations that you may have while you're fudding, fear, uncertainty, and doubt due to the red money virus that is out there. So go ahead and book an appointment with us at cortezwm.com. And I'm really looking forward to helping every American I can, every listener of this podcast. But before all of that, I would like to bring in my good friend, Jay Campbell.
What's going on, my brother? Thank you so much for your patience. This has been a long time coming. You have been pushing me to come on your amazing show for a long time, and I've just been busy and, no excuses. It just hasn't made the right timing until now. So I'm really, really excited to be here today. And of course, privileged and humbled to talk to your listeners.
No, I don't think the audience, maybe, I mean, I do because I'm biased, but can you tell us like who you are? I in my eyes, you're like the godfather of peptides. And I don't know if you invented peptides. I don't know. I don't know much about peptides. I do know a little bit to be dangerous, but I want to kind of give you the floor of how'd you get started in this business? Why? I think I know why, and I think our listeners know why. And if you want to get into our first question, basically, our second question was, why did you get into peptides? And what is it that we don't know about Big Pharma that peptides is almost, I don't want to say the word cure, but is helping millions of people that they don't even know about?
Yeah. So all really good questions. Just high level background on me. So really my claim to fame, if there is one on the internet, is I was the guy who wrote the first two, not the first two, but the first mainstream exposure and awareness books on therapeutic testosterone. Right. So I wrote in 2014. It was actually published in 2015, but it was written in 2014. The definitive TRT manual, and that blew up on Amazon. A lot of people in our space, whatever we are in the hustle space, entrepreneur space, believe that Jeff Bezos used that book to go from the pipsqueak, nerdy guy to the dude that was jacked, right? That was shown on all the images of him like on yachts, I think in 2016, 2017. And so a lot of people were like, dude, your book was like number one on men's health on Amazon for like 6 months in 2015. He probably used that book to get jacked. And my guess is if you put a gun to my head, I would say probably 80% likely true. Right. So then after that book came out, I wrote another book on fasting, which was called The Metabolic Blowtorch Diet, which also blew up and got a lot of mainstream acceptance. It was kind of the first book teaching people how to alternate day fast. So it's kind of like you eat one day and you train, and then the next day you don't eat. And then you just rotate. So you're getting like 3 or 4 days a week of eating and training, lifting, and then, 3 or 4 days, depending on your training schedule, of not eating and doing cardio. And so a lot of people got ripped on that. And then after that, I wrote probably at this point my seminal work, although my biggest piece is coming at the end of this year, which we can talk about. It's on GLP peptides, but it was called the Testosterone Optimization Therapy Bible, or the TOT Bible. And
Nice.
that book right now is the #1 selling book of all time on hormones. You're familiar with that. Our mutual friend Josiah is familiar with that. Almost every guy in the bro world knows about that book because it's sold, hundreds of thousands of copies. It's got like 3,000 5-star reviews on Amazon, et cetera.
Right.
And it's still to this day, bro, the #1 book in the clinical community for physicians, both men and women, who prescribe hormones to use as a resource, because it has like 2,600 scientific citations in it. Subsequently from that, I eventually wrote a book on peptides. And truthfully, that book came out on January 31st, 2023, in the middle of the vaccine debacle. And so many people were looking for alternative forms of healing that my book just exploded. And it exploded into mainstream consciousness. It exploded in the medical community. It exploded into the academic community. And so I think from there, as you said, people see me as like the peptide guy, but it really all started with hormones. And as I always tell people, it starts with hormones because most people today make a mistake of jumping into peptides without knowing if their hormones are optimized. And as you and I know, and what we were talking about off air before the show started, 80% of people in society right now have a hormone deficiency and literally do not know, because the medical establishment is full of quacks and full of people who are slaves to pharma. And pharma doesn't want people to have optimized hormones, because then, as you know, the cash cow of medicines and allopathic sick care, illness medicine will die. Because if you optimize a person's hormones, you instantly cure them of about 70 to 75% of all autoimmune disease and disorders or dysregulation. And most people don't know that. But once you get your hormones optimized, your life really changes, because you, as I like to say, you become sovereign, empowered, and free. You are in control. You're not relying on your doctor to tell you that you're sick or that you need this medication or anything, because you don't go to doctors anymore. You're not, sure, if you get shot or in a car accident, maybe you got to go to a surgeon, but you're not going to a normal, everyday, allopathic insurance subrogated doctor, because you're in control of your health.
Yeah, that's amazing. So could you explain what a lot of our listeners don't even know what a peptide is. So when I talk to people like every day, I've lost 80 pounds. My listeners have seen my transformation.
That's awesome.
Just walking, eating protein, and yes, peptides have been a big part of that as well. So I get random people that come up to me like, "Hey, Cortez, how'd you do this, man? Like, wow, you look great." And I'm talking about BioLongevity Labs. I'm just talking about peptides in general.
Sure.
And more importantly, this information is so needed. And what you just described about 80% not knowing, well, I'll tell you what, man, the diabetes in America is just overblown. Like,
Yeah.
I think I read like 80% of diabetics, or I'm sorry, it was 100 million people. 80% of that 100 million people that are pre-diabetic um, are literally like on the verge of having diabetes and don't even know it.
Exactly.
I don't know what that stat is, but I'm paraphrasing. Please don't
No, you're exactly right. And let's break that down, and then we can go deeper into what peptides are. But so the medical community doesn't want people to be cured. They want to manage sickness. They want to manage illness, right? So, that you're right. Hundreds, it would, I don't want to over exaggerate this, but let's say right now there's 100 to 175 million people in the United States right now who are pre-diabetic. And what that means is they have an HbA1c level, which is a measurement of blood glucose in the bloodstream, too high. And when it's too high, you're on the fast path to an early grave, because an early grave comes from diabetes, glaucoma, heart illness, inflammation. I mean, all levels of fat, visceral body fat, and insulin resistance are from diabetes, which again is kind of like the gateway illness to death. And again, when I say death, like there's a million ways to die, but you're going to die an early death. So these people have this problem for a couple of reasons. One, they'd have no clue how to eat nutrition because they don't, in college and high school, they don't teach people what nutrition is. They don't teach people how to live insulin controlled. The average person on the street, and I'm talking about, Ivy League educated people. So actually college educated people don't know the difference between a protein, carbohydrate, and fat. They couldn't tell you the energy equivalent, of 4 calories to 9 calories to 4 calories. They don't know that. On top of that, they also don't know the difference between what a protein, fat, and a carbohydrate is. So you've got wholesale ignorance of nutrition in America. And again, the average person just eats to feel full. They're eating, boxed GMO foodstuffs, so engineered food, which is all shit. And it's crashing their metabolic health and, again, increasing their HbA1c score, which is, again, a measurement of too much blood glucose or sugar in their bloodstream.
Correct.
And it's leading them to an early grave. So if you, instead of going back to peptides, instead of jumping on peptides, if you get your blood work done to understand, if you have a quote unquote hormone deficiency, and obviously if you are a type 1 borderline diabetic, type 2 borderline diabetic, you definitely have a hormone deficiency because that's one of the causational, factors. You want to get your hormones optimized. The problem is like we just said, is that there's not even a lot of doctors that can do that. So you have to be very intelligent and very specific and very intentional with you finding a physician, like a functional medicine doctor, maybe a urologist, maybe an endocrinologist, maybe none of those people, maybe just a doctor who advertises that they know how to optimize your hormones. And from there, now we can start looking at peptides. And so back to your original question about peptides, they're basically organic signaling molecules or chains of amino acids. Again, you can call them fractionated proteins, but they're found naturally occurring in the human body. I think the number one peptide that most people are familiar with or they've heard stories of is the healing peptide, which is BPC 157. BPC stands for body protective compound, and it's actually found in the gastric juice in the gut. So again, naturally occurring, naturally made. We synthesize peptides in a lab, and then we either inject them, we intranasally snort them, we rub them on our skin so they're transdermally absorbed, sprayed into our scalp, and we can use dermal rollers or massage or scalp. And then obviously the last format or delivery system that is somewhat effective, not ultimately or optimally effective, would be oral. And what they're coming with, which is cool for like normies and people that are afraid of injecting themselves, is micron patches of think of like a Velcro patch that will be able to be applied to the arm with no pain, because the needles will be literally what are called 2 or 4 micron needle bases, which you can't feel. I mean, you could slap it on your face and you wouldn't feel it because it's so microscopic. So that technology is in development. And, I actually work with a couple of the companies that are bringing that to market. So my guess is that within 2 years, people who are afraid of injecting peptides, which by the way is 80% of the world, will not have to deal with that anymore. So the barrier to entry of peptides will be a lot less. So almost everyone who's not, afraid of, whatever side effects or fear porn will be able to use peptides without pain. So it's coming, but that's kind of what peptides are. I would say right now, I just made a really big documentary that's hopefully going to be on either Netflix or Amazon next year.
Yeah.
Less than 1%. These are the statistics. Less than 1% of people in America even know what a peptide is. Of that 1% who are aware, less than 0.5% are using them. So when you mathematically figure out how many people in the United States are using peptides, it's probably less than 10, probably less, somewhere between 8 and 10 million people. It just is weird for people like me because, like you said, I'm kind of like considered the godfather of peptides. So like anybody who's using them knows who I am or I'm working with or talks to, but it's still a very, very tiny subsector of society.
Dang, that's nuts, because they literally have been so amazing for my lifestyle.
Improved sex, because the best way to describe it is like you feel like you're 17 or 18 or 19 again when you're having sex. You have everything is firing, you feel amazing. So, that's what it's doing. It's just basically, it's removing what are called senescent cells from the body, which are like zombie dead cells, and improving the function of all the other systems in your body. So that is going to be a revolutionary product. It's easily $1 billion product. And then the other product is called follistatin. And in the bro/bodybuilding world, it's been around for 20 years. The differentiation is that that product was known as 314, follistatin 314, 344, and 347. And those were short half-life agents that lasted maybe 1.5 to 2.5 hours in the bloodstream. So you would have to inject it 2 or 3 times a day in the body part that you wanted to get bigger from a skeletal mass standpoint. And the other thing is that, and obviously people that know this who have used it know, dude, it produces debilitating pain. Like it's like instant DOMS, instant delayed onset muscle soreness. And you have, I mean, people, if you inject up in the shoulder or the arm, you can't move your arm over your shoulder for 3 or 4 days. So it was always a dead failure. The only people that used it were like hardcore pro bodybuilders that needed to get their shoulders or their arms bigger. So our product has what is known as an albumin binder. And again, it's a patented form. Nobody else has it. Lilly is the patent for this product, but we're like 3 or 4 years ahead of them. You extends the half-life to 19 days. So if you take this product, and by the way, I'll tell you about Clotho, how to do it too. It's 1 shot every 2 weeks, which obviously for people that are afraid of needles, it's no big deal, right? Because it's a tiny little insulin needle. Right. Eventually it'll be in a pen. So it'll be in a tiny little micron pen. And you only have to inject yourself once every 2 weeks. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this. It literally has the ability to create 1 to 1.5 pounds of muscle mass gain per week. So if you take follistatin over the course of an entire year and you use Clotho simultaneously, you will improve all of your biological functioning and you will literally gain muscle up to your genetic limit. So what does that mean? Because people keep asking me. If you're like me and you're 55 and you're already pretty muscular and you've been training for 30 years and you do everything right, somebody like me might be able to gain like 12 or 15 pounds of muscle. But for me, that'll be insane. I mean, I'll be like, because I already have a good physique, it'll probably be like, dude, you look like a goddamn X-Man versus a person like a woman who's never trained, who takes it and uses GLPs and loses muscle. Now they're never going to lose muscle. So they're not going to have Wegovy face. They're not going to have Wegovy neck, Wegovy butt, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So they're going to preserve their muscle mass while they're taking the GLP. So it's going to be like, I mean, it's going to be like a miracle, you know, because all these people lose muscle. So both of these products are billion-dollar products. There's no doubt about it. I don't know how long it'll be before pharma comes after us because they're like, oh, no, you don't. Because we're going to be selling them for affordable rates. Like we're literally going to be able to sell an entire annual amount for both products for literally like $7,900. No lie. Lilly, when they sell each product individually, will charge somewhere between $7,000 and $8,000 a month. $7,000 and $8,000 a month. Yep. And we're going to sell it for literally like less than that for an entire year's supply. So obviously, you know, people still have to have some, you know, discretionary income, but these two products are going to be game changers for life extension. I mean, absolute game changers.
I mean, you see it with Ozempic, Mounjaro, they're going crazy over these pens like 7 years later, 6 years later, and they're still charging $1,100 a month. Are you joking me?
Dude, $1,100 with a script. And a good RX coupon, right? So you can get them, as you know, from BioLongevity Labs, Peptide Sciences. You know, we should talk about this for a second. Research chemical companies for anywhere from 7 to 10th the cost. The differentiation, so people understand this, is if you get it from a compound pharmacy, it's already reconstituted, it's already made, it's kind of dummy proof. They tell you where to pull on the syringe, right? Whereas when you buy them from us or you buy them from, you know, other research companies, you obviously have to be invested and bought in because you got to learn how to reconstitute. You got to learn how to measure micrograms, milligrams. You have to understand a syringe. You need to understand like how to reconstitute. There's a lot of little things that go along with it. So obviously that's the difference in cost. But as you know, once you understand those things, it's like a game changer because now you're not relying on your doctor. You're not relying on the medical establishment. You're not relying on a compound pharmacy, which is ripping you off. I mean, dude, every day I get people message me. They're like, I could buy this on BioLongevity Labs for $150, or I can spend $1,200 and my doctor can send it to me. How is this fair? And I'm like, it's not fair. You're basically paying, you know, you're paying the VIG. You're paying the governmental and private, you know, big pharma / whatever you want to call it, big agra.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, the dark side's VIG. That's what it is.
Man, that's, dude. Are you guys paying attention to this? Jay is dropping some heat here. Like, you don't need to go to compound pharmacy.
No.
You don't need to go to the doctor to get your peptides or therapeutic testosterone. Simply just go to BioLongevity Labs. And we do have a promo code. Selfishly, I would say utilize CortezWM.com. I believe it's 10% off.
Yeah, no, it's 15. If you got 15% off.
Okay, 15% off. So there you go, guys. And I'll tell you another vial, not vial, but a peptide is BioMine that I've been using. And I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about like the cognitive problems that our kids are having with autism and as well as ADHD. Now, I'm not saying they should take BioMine. This is for me. I have ADHD. I'm extremely busy, extremely forgetful sometimes. And this has helped me a ton. I have no idea the science behind it, but if you want to talk about BioMine.
Well, that is the #1 nootropic product in the world. There is nothing that holds a candle to this. There are so many A-list celebrities, superstar people, rock star entrepreneurs, rock star CEOs, Fortune 500 beasts that use this product. The only thing I will say about it is it's 3 different products. It's J147, which is a stage 2 Alzheimer drug. When this drug actually comes to the marketplace, it's going to be a revelation. But obviously, because we move so fast, we already have it in this product. And then dihexa is the strongest nootropic peptide by far. It's the only one that I actually swear by. And then Noopept, if you're familiar with all the racetams, is the strongest racetam nootropic. It's not really a peptide, it's a small molecule, but all 3 of these together is nothing like it. It does not raise heart rate. It does not stimulate cardiac cell growth or anything like that. It literally just makes the lights brighter and your focus stronger. But don't use it every day. You already said it. I tell people to pick the most cognitively demanding days they have and take 2 capsules before an hour, at least an hour before. And it should last, at least, as you know, it lasts 4 to 6 hours. If you have a crazy day where you're taking tests all day, I would say you could take a second dose, which would be another 2 capsules, but do not take it under 6 hours. So if you're going to be, brain power all day, first 2 dose between 6 and 8, second dose after 2.
Okay. Now, how young?
But don't take it every day, for sure. Don't take it every day.
How young could you be to take this? Could
college age students can take it. I mean, a really, really smart high school student, maybe as a senior, in super advanced classes might take it. But I like to tell people that the brain is not fully neurologically developed until about 21 or 22. So I would tell you to just wait until your 20s before you start using this product. But I don't think it would be that bad if an 18 or 19-year-old, very, cognitively advanced person took it. But I wouldn't get in the mood of taking it. You definitely do not want to, abuse this product because it's very powerful and it will cause what is called receptor attenuation, which is like basically a desensitization to some of the products. So you'd have to cycle off of it. So that's why you only use it every now and then. The other one that I'll point out to, which is on that picture right there, is brand new. It's called BioIgnite. And it's right behind Shred Max from a fat burner standpoint. The difference is that product is for stubborn fat. So if you've got like a belly that you can't get rid of, or you're a woman and you've got like, cottage dimples in your thighs, or your glute ham tie-in, that's like an amazing product to get rid of that fat because it really does only attack stubborn fat cells.
BioIgnite?
Yep. Yeah, it's got a product in it called Amylexinox, and it's what is called a type 2 stubborn adipocyte receptor targeter. And so it goes after where you have very poor blood flow in your body, and it stimulates blood flow, and also what are called catecholamines, which are obviously fight or flight hormones. So it mobilizes stubborn fat to go off your body. It's an amazing product.
Do you recommend taking BioIgnite with Shred Max, or?
You definitely can. The way I would do it is I would take Shred Max on my lifting days, and I would take BioIgnite on my cardio days. And I would take BioIgnite. Shred Max, it doesn't matter, but BioIgnite you definitely want to take fasted, so it crosses the blood-brain barrier fast.
Yeah. Wow. I hope you guys are taking notes on this. A lot of heat he's dropping real quick.
Yeah, I mean, most people are not going to keep up with this, but obviously it's awesome that it's being recorded. But yeah, I mean, like I said, man, we are the fastest fastest growing, fastest iterating company in the world with our products. Like we have, the gorilla chemist, Brian Moskowitz. He's like one of the world's leading biochemical engineers that works for us. And so we're formulating and iterating faster than anybody else. So, if you want the latest and greatest and the tip of the spear products about what's happening in the biochemical space, we have them.
So quick question. I've noticed that people that have been taking peptides, that 0.5% or 0.25% of the 1% that know about peptides, they're losing hair. And let's talk about the women. A lot of women listen to my show. They're losing hair. And what do you recommend? Obviously, if their nutrition is dialed in, their protein is dialed in, most probably not, they're losing hair.
Dude, 90% of women that are losing hair on peptides is because it's malnutrition. They're not getting enough protein. It's very, very well known that people that use terzapatide, which is obviously Zepbound or Mounjaro, and lose hair, it's because they're not eating enough protein. The number one, it's called effugium, televium effugium, which is basically when the hair is shedding rapidly. And in women, when it happens, it's literally due to nutrition. Wow. And most women who take those products, because obviously it's very powerful as an appetite suppressant, they stop eating protein, they stop eating enough. And that's a sure tell sign that they're not getting enough protein. So it's really simple. And people like that, they got to start supplementing with protein. My favorite protein powder, is, I'm definitely a shill, is Mark Bell, who has Steak Shake. So all of his protein is like it's the most expensive protein in the world. It's not even, some of it's grass fed, but it's mostly meat protein, and it's beef tallow and MCT oil and like carbon 60 and like all the best ingredients in the world into one mixture. And so if you want to go to his company, it's called Within You brand, withinyoubrand.com, and buy that protein. That's all my wife and I take. In fact, dude, when I travel around the world, I literally carry that stuff with me because it's the strongest protein, protects bones and calcium, and it just tastes amazing. He has so many flavors. The best flavors, I think, are banana cream, frosted oatmeal cookie, and then he's got, obviously, of course, vanilla and chocolate. But I mean, dude, I'm on subscribe and save on that. Like every 45 days, I get like 6 of those things sent to me.
That's awesome, man.
And I honestly, my wife and I both take 2 shakes of that a day. Wherever I am, that's how I get, an extra like 80 to 100 grams of protein every day.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. If women are losing hair on peptides, it's due to poor nutrition. And obviously it's, I don't want to say poor nutrition, but it's the appetite suppression from the GLPs is causing them to not eat enough protein. And that's what's dropping their hair out. Now, obviously some women do have hormonal hair loss, and that would be due to an imbalance of testosterone, estrogen, and progesterones. And again, that's where we're, they got to get their labs done. They got to understand if they need some testosterone, but sometimes testosterone can exacerbate hair loss, but it's short term. Once you get balanced and optimized, it'll stop happening. But I mean, again, dude, as we get older, living in a contaminated environment, you're probably going to lose a little bit of hair. It's just kind of inevitable. There's really nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, everyone is saying, "Oh, you need to take NAD plus," and
no, that's not going to do jack shit, dude. No, I mean, losing hair as you get older is one of 2 things. I mean, I've written articles on this, so people understand this because this is important, and most people don't know this, but hair loss is due to blood flow restriction to the scalp. So very truthfully, if you're one of those guys who buys a traction device and hangs upside down like a bat for a half an hour a day, that will actually improve hair regrowth in your scalp. Now, obviously, you would also want to use a red light skull cap because red light does stimulate angiogenesis. And then we don't have it now, but, obviously I used to sell a product. That's how, me and Josiah met each other. I sold to the company a long time ago for a good amount of money. But if you have an angiogenic peptide mixture, like a GHKCU, like a carbon 60, like a AK122, PB482, all these different peptides for hair, you can totally regrow your hair. On top of that, you would definitely want to also consider using PRP. You'd want to consider using exosomes. I mean, these are procedures that are A, expensive, and B, painful as but they will absolutely 100% regrow your hair. I know people who are bald who now have dreadlocks. But you got to spend money and you got to work with the right people. But hair loss is a thing of the past. You just have to know what to do, and you got to have obviously enough means and resources to overcome it.
Man, this has been a lot of information. Wow. Okay. So Jay, we're where can we find BioLongevity Labs, and how do we order, and what's that look like, and how long do these peptides, once they're reconstituted, last? Once they put it in a refrigerator.
So it's a good question. So to find my shit, which is free for everywhere, it's jaycampbell.com. If you go to jaycampbell.com/free dash info, you can download a copy of every one of my books. So there's 8 books there. As I told you, my newest book is coming at the end of this year. It's going to definitely be my magnum opus. It is called Metabolic Awakening with GLP Peptides. It will teach people how to use GLP peptides to not themselves up and obviously live longer, stronger. You can go to biolongevitylabs.com and you can use obviously your code, which is Cortez WM, which will give you 15% off. All those amazing products that I talked about, like Clotho and Follistatin, are coming the week of Black Friday. I think they're going to be probably Tuesday before Black Friday, which I think, I'm not looking at a calendar, but I think it's November 25th. If you're going to use those products, you definitely want to go on those products if you're over the age of 40 for as long as you can, because they're revolutionary and they're going to optimize and upregulate your life. And again, I think the sale that week that we're having will probably be 30% off store-wide plus your code. So basically, people will be able to get nearly 50% off every product in the store. And again, like, to me, obviously I'm not about making money. I mean, I want people to succeed and be in life, but for me, it's about serving. And the more people we can get on Clotho, the more people we can get on Follistatin, the better they're going to live from a health standpoint. And the more they'll be able to detach from the sick care, reptilian, whatever the fuck it is, principles and principality system that we're unfortunately too many are attached to.
Wow. That's amazing. So you heard it, guys. BioLongevity Labs, and go ahead and put in the promo code Cortez WM. You'll save 15%. And if you wait on Black Friday, you'll have a total of 30% off the whole store. And hopefully you can get your hands on the Clotho and Follistatin as well. Now, Jay, real quick, you had mentioned another peptide when I asked you about top 5 peptides. You said a bonus one. I can't remember which one it was, but you said it for me. I should take it. Was it the Metashred, the SOUPP?
So not Metashred, but Shred Max for
Shred
sure.
Max. Okay,
Shred
I was just making sure that was there.
Yeah. So I mean, like, right now, for you, knowing what I know about you now, it would just be still tesamorelin, retatrutide. If you need the appetite suppression from cagrilintide, you can get that. Now, we do have something I didn't mention that might be better. In fact, I know it's better than cagrilintide. It's an oral, and it's called Biozapatite.
Okay.
And that's actually a Lilly product called Orforglipron. Good luck trying to spell that. But that's what it's called. It's called Orforglipron. So that's coming out and will be FDA approved sometime in the next 4 to 6 months. But we already sell it as Biozapatite. And it's just an oral capsule. And dude, it's a very powerful appetite suppressant. So you can take 2 of those a day in the morning, and it will definitely, it's not going to shut it down. You'll still be able to eat, but it'll definitely control your appetite. So that would be one I would look at to use, because it's really, really strong. I use it sometimes myself and when I'm fasting, because it really takes my mind off of food. But then the rest of them, you already know. I mean, if you want to throw in Clotho and Follistatin, I mean, every guy wants to be more muscular, right? So, I mean, like, Follistatin will definitely help with that. You really don't have to do anything, provided you're already doing all the things like lifting and eating enough protein, etc.
Yeah. I actually have a special guest today, and a very special friend. And we're going to be talking about not just your wealth, but your health too. For those of you that already know, and to my retired clients that listen to our show, you know that the ultimate flex, the ultimate goal is your health. There is no wealth without health, period. So what good is it if I can teach you how to make millions in retirement if your health isn't there? So we always want to keep our health in the forefront of it. And so with today, I have a special friend. We have a special guest today, Nathan DeTracy, and we're going to be talking about the power of peptides, the power of your health, and what we can do right now utilizing this amazing groundbreaking technology that you're going to want to learn about. More importantly, we all understand that Big Pharma doesn't have our best interest financially as well as medically. And we're going to be talking about that. Nathan DeTracy is a God-fearing patriot. He's one of us. He represents an amazing, amazing company that is American-based. And so you guys know that if I'm bringing somebody on my show, they've been vetted, tried and true, and they think like us, and they share the same cross as us. And we just are excited to talk to Nathan today. Nathan, how are you, my friend?
Hey, brother, how you doing? Blessing to be on here, my friend.
Thank you, thank you. All right. So, I just wanted to bring you on, and really, what's up with this peptides? I mean, what is peptides, and what do people need to know about peptides, and why is it groundbreaking to really all of humanity?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. If you've been around, you've been listening to, Andrew Huberman or a Joe Rogan, or, whether it's education or it's influence, you've heard a lot about peptides lately. And so I would say with the last 5 years, with anything, usually see it coming in at the high level athletes or that type of thing. And then you see the businessmen and women that start to grab onto it, the millionaires and billionaires, and then it starts to float down to the mainstream. And I think we're sitting in a moment right now where there's a lot of mainstream that are curious about peptides. However, most of the peptides that we know that these days are synthetic peptides. And with that, that means doctors' prescriptions, that means blood work, that means utilizing needles. And so, that creates a barrier, a wall. And so in the last, it's been 10 years of study, but, in the last, I would say, year and a half, we've been very intentional to connect with a company called Neuritas that has invested $100 million in both AI and peptide research to figure out there's actually massive amounts. When I say massive, I'm talking billions and billions of peptides in nature. And these peptides act as almost keys to locks in our DNA that either upregulate or downregulate. And so they can do very extraordinary things with our body, with our health, and that type of thing. So we're just starting to step into that lane, if you will.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing that you say that, and I love what you said about the doctors. I mean, the doctors really don't want you to
Mm.
know about it. I mean, they want the Pfizers of the world. They want to produce um, their own drug, like even the medicinal properties of marijuana, right? So,
Uh-huh.
why was marijuana now just open to the public in the past decade when our declaration was written on hemp paper? I mean, there's so much power in just in the plants,
Yeah.
and even our animal fats, as you say. So, um, I guess what I'm getting at is, why do you feel that this has been kept from us for so long?
Uh-huh.
Um, can you talk about that, and why this is going to help our obesity problem, our health problem,
Uh-huh.
and what is someone that is on these natural peptides? What can they expect within 30 days, 6 months, a year?
Uh-huh.
Like, what does that process look like? That
Let me start with a story because I think this is important to kind of set the scene. Because anytime you have anything new, you're always going to have a lot of haters. Number one, if
sure.
especially if you start to create momentum, right? But a lot of that is I don't want to say ignorance, but here's a great example. I brought a manufacturer to the table. He was a good friend of mine, and he was in previous companies of ours that we had kind of hung our hat on, and he was responsible way back in the day from creating 5 Hour Energy and products like Spark and those types of things, and so he's been around for 35 years, and during that period of time, he's manufactured supplements, and then also gone on the more on the prescription realm and doing nutraceuticals and those types of things, kind of bouncing back and forth, and he came back to supplements because he said, number one, he's like, man, with Big Pharma and those types of um, overhanging, umbrella control that's going on, that some of it is just, it's dark. And so anyway, when I first introduced him to this, he basically told me, he's like, hey, you don't want to step into that. There's no studies on that. I know that peptides can't make it through the gut, can't make it through the liver. And I said, Alan, I said, just sit with Nerdtoss, just sit with the company that we're partnering with and just listen to them. And so he came back, and now he can't stop talking about it, because a lot of the scientists, a lot of the doctors out there, they only know what they know, right? They've been taught in a certain way, and they're there to try to help us, but they only know their lane, and so they're going to speak to that lane, and they've been taught, only that direction. And so I think some of it, I don't think we need to demonize doctors. I don't think we need to demonize synthetics, because I think there's a place for them. I think that we could actually run alongside them, and we can start to educate and show, for instance, the GLP-1s right now that are huge in the marketplace. We've seen people that have been clinically obese that have tried everything, and that has been a godsend to them. And because of that, they're able to get control, and then they're able to make some shifts. However, for the average person out there, the average person wants a miracle pill, and they don't want to make any changes, right? And so what we're seeing as far as statistics and numbers are showing is that when they're taking the GLP-1s, is that they're losing about 40% lean body mass because of the slowing of the gut and its ability to break down and absorb nutrition. And so with
And GLP-1s are the mainstream, the Ozempics, the Mounjaros.
correct. Yeah.
I
So
don't know the
they've
other ones,
branched
but
off to all kinds of different names, but
yeah.
essentially, yeah, the main one is called the GLP-1. And so with that, we'll create problems down the road, right? Because our health hangs on the balance of lean body mass, as far as our metabolism, decrease in inflammation, that could lead to cancers and all those different types of things. And so we have to be very careful about the repercussions of losing that lean body mass, even though we're losing body fat. And so I think this is a moment where we could actually come alongside. For instance, we have a product called Fit that increases your protein synthesis by four times what it would if you were just taking whey protein. So that means if somebody's not eating consistently, they're not eating a lot of protein, then they could take this, and it's actually going to help them to maintain or even put on lean body mass. If they're eating good amounts of protein, it's gonna 4x that. And they're finding the studies are the same with creatine and different types of products that we would put in our body. They actually are going to help to increase the results of them, because what we do with these, we call them bioactive precision peptides. What they do is they help with the cell communication. So they go to the cell and help the cell to communicate at a faster level, instead of putting a synthetic in there, which normally slows down the process, because the body sees that as it's overproducing, and then it slows its own down.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, I mean the Ozempics of the world, Mounjaros of the world, they have they've been such a huge crave. I mean, it was a diabetic drug, and
Yeah.
speaking as a former type 2 diabetic myself, um it it really was just meant to control your blood sugar. And then weight loss was a secondary issue. But now the Kardashians got a hold of it, and all of Hollywood got hold of it, and normal people that use it for blood sugar regulation can't have access to it. So also it is also like $800-900 a month
Mhm.
for these expensive GLP-1s versus something that you can buy for 150 bucks a month,
Mhm.
and actually have a natural alternatives, which is is powerful in itself.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to bring you on, because for those of anyone that's trying to lose weight and you're not having success, then I highly recommend that you look at getmeleanusa.com is my link. You can see the link below. And these products have been a game changer for myself, for hundreds of people. Nate, can you talk about like what you've seen personally, with people that have actually taken these peptides? Like
Mhm.
what's it done to their bodies, and maybe some testimonials? I know we can't hold your feet to the fire, and everything is subject to um, everyone else's body compositions. But yeah, if you can speak on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, just like you said, the disclaimer is everybody's body is a little bit different. And you see this even with synthetics is you'll see some people lose massive amounts of weight, some people won't lose any, and so we always want to put that out there first. But what we're trying to do is create optimal health. And so, for instance, I talked to a couple yesterday. They've been on for 3 weeks. The husband's lost 18 pounds, I'll tell you, that's way more than the average person. But he was blown away because the lean product, what it does is it helps with your hunger hormones. And so we're actually feeding him more often. So we gave him a plan to go along with it so that he's eating consistently, feeding his body. But he's like, man, it's crazy. He's like, I am not craving any of the sweets that he normally does. Right. And so it's designed to help us, not as a Band-Aid, not to just take a pill and you lose, a significant amount of weight, which that can happen. But we want to teach you a lifestyle and help you to make those changes. And we feel like these kind of fit in that realm. Now, his wife, she said within the 3 weeks, she's lost, I think she lost 5 pounds, but she said she's lost 5 inches on her waist. And she said that she could tell the difference in her arms and how they were starting to tone up. And so everybody, again, is going to be a little bit different. It's based off of your metabolism. And again, it's self-signaling, meaning it's going to help whatever progression you're at. It's going to help it to move even faster. Well, some people already have a good baseline, right? Some people already have a good amount of lean body mass and some don't. And so we got to work through that process. But the great thing is we have right now 6 different products, and we're going to continue to add with it. The company that I was talking about that we're partnering with, Neuritas, we actually signed an exclusive with them. So we have first right of refusal to the products that they're making. And we also are going to start to march down different lanes. So our goal is to be, by the end of the year, by fourth quarter, we want to start to develop some other products, but we want to be body, mind, and beauty. And so we want to sit in those 3 lanes and really, again, just make an impact. And one of the things that I would actually also like to talk about, if it's okay, is, how can somebody utilize these to get not only great results, but could they use this as a system to pass on to other people and create some income as well? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely talk about that. And yeah, if you don't mind, what I'm just doing is sharing the website here while you're speaking, and you could. I mean, it's a groundbreaking opportunity. This is a financial show, but we want to talk about income as well. And the floor is yours, Nate.
Well, I think it's important. I think it's important we talk about this because, a couple things is I see over and over, and this happened in my story 18 years ago when companies like this kind of stepped into, this is a direct sales. I would say this is a hybrid. It's an affiliate / direct sales business. So I always like to be upfront because it's important to understand, again, what it is, because there's so many people that have either heard something or maybe they just weren't in the right company. But we all know right now that whether you're selling supplements or you're selling leggings, like everybody are using affiliate codes, right? And so that's something that's very normal. And our founder, Justin Prince, had been in direct sales for, I think he's been in for about 20 years. And he's been a part of 3 different companies, and 2 of the companies he ended up selling because he thought it was a flawed system. And so he's very forward thinking. The company prior to this, he was one of the first to create social retail. So he brought social retail to the mainstream and now wanted to step into this because we had the opportunity to work with these peptides, but also because we felt like in this season, affiliate marketing has just become, where people are moving to. And so we wanted to create a system that was very easy on the front end for somebody to step in and say, man, I love these products. Let me pass these on to my friends, because we know by nature, when you get amazing results, it feels good to pass that on to somebody else, but if you could benefit from it as well. And so we have a sliding scale from 10 to 40% that on the front end you make from having an affiliate code. You don't have to pay to play. So you don't have to pay anything. You just use the products and you can share your link. The other cool thing is you get the lifetime of the customer. So you sign up your friend decides that they want to use these products and they use them for the next 20 years. You're going to create income from that consistently. Okay. So that's the front side. The back side is what's really changed my life. Just to give you a little bit of my backstory, I was a professional bodybuilder, and was a gym owner when this type of business found me. And the truth was, I think this is the case for a lot of people. We all live, a lot of us lead these quiet lives of desperation. Like on the outside, we look like everything's together, but on the inside, we're struggling, whether that's, in our spirit or financially. And so for me, it was both. I had a gym that looked amazing. I had massive amounts of people coming in, but when I was building that, it was during the crash in 2008, 2009, and I was struggling to the point where I didn't have the lights on at home, so I could keep them on at the gym. But even more importantly than that, because of those financial stresses, I had, prior to that, gone through a divorce. I wasn't going to church, and I didn't have a spiritual connection. And so you talked about that earlier. That's when my spiritual journey started to strengthen, when I got into a business like this, because most businesses are about stepping on somebody else in order for you to get to the top. In a business like this, it's about building a culture that is attractive and a magnet, and bringing people in and speaking into them and trying to build people up to increase their leadership so they can impact other people. And so I think that's super important to point out, because there's not a lot like it out there. So with that being said, right now I feel like there's a movement. We talked about peptides earlier, and kind of how the Hubermans and even like the Jordan Petersons and the Joe Rogans of the world have kind of primed this to be out in mainstream. Well, you have both, I think, a wealth distribution and an impact opportunity here. And so to be able to step into that, I think is something very special. I think it's kind of a little bit of luck of being at the right place at the right time. As we got connected to this company, Neurotos, and created an amazing relationship. And we're in a pre-sale. We're about to launch next month. In our first 3 months, we've done over 25 million in sales. And more than that,
Jeez.
in our pre-launch, we had 60,000, before we even started selling a product, we had 60,000 people that said, I want to be a part of that. So some of that's the company. Some of that is the leadership from the past of direct sales leaders that people either stepped away or had a bad experience but had watched. And this is the great thing about social media, is people all get to see how people develop over time. And so we had this influx of massive amounts of people. Now, 60,000, once it was time to put the money down, not all 60,000 started. I think we started with about 20,000, and we've grown from there over the last 3.5 months. But I think it's important to show that people are hungry for something like this, both on the product side, but also on building a culture that people want to be around and be poured into.
Yeah. So not only is a product amazing, but there's also an income opportunity that any American, anybody here that could actually just share the message. Hey, instead of taking that nasty Ozempic or the GLP-1s, try this, and actually be a part of a movement, be a part of anti-pharma, bringing the opportunity for the American dream. Really, is what you're saying. Maybe you're a single mom. Maybe you're a police officer or a truck driver that is working crazy hours, and this is the money that, or the opportunity that you need to help supplement to break away. This is extremely powerful. The fact that wages are not being able to keep up with expenses is a huge problem in America right now. Huge problem. I don't know if you know this, but credit card default rates are at an all-time high right now.
Yeah.
Car repossessions all-time high. Not even just to mention the cost of eggs and regular commodities, but people can't even get mortgages right now because their income is not matching. And here in Florida, where I'm at, the homes are just astronomical. I mean, the underwriter's not even comfortable writing mortgages for the houses, to the point where even home ownership, like the actual insurance on homes, they're flocking out of Florida. And the retirees, this used to be a retirement state, and now 1,000 families are leaving a day. They can't afford the HOAs. We have a condo crash that is coming here, as well as a stock market correction. So the reason why I wanted Nathan on here is to talk about the power think of, I don't know, 50 to 100 people that want to lose weight, that actually want to help their awareness, that, like you said, their beauty, their health, their wealth. And I really think the products that you guys have are just so groundbreaking. And I appreciate I appreciate you telling us about it. So, how does the affiliate program work? If I mean, all they got to do is just buy the products, and then they're in the system, or how's that work?
Yeah. So, here's what I would suggest is you always want to be a product of the product. It doesn't make sense. Like, we don't believe in salespeople that are just selling something to make a dollar. So
Sure.
what I would do is, private message you, ask for your link so that they can go check it out, so that they can get into the store and check out the different products. We can also send you a video that just goes over very quickly each product and how it impacts you, and why you might want to utilize that. Pick out products that hit home for you. And if you're forward thinking and you're like, I do want to do this as a business, pick out products that you think will impact your target market. And that's the only thing that you have to do to start. From there, you will have your own link. We'll set that up, and then you can start to share the products.
Unapologetic, I won't bow, I won't hide. Latino blood, American pride.